In the process, I came out with a better understanding of who I am and what I want for my life.
NFL players are always in the spotlight, though sometimes not for the reasons they care to be. While everyone gets into trouble of some sort occasionally, some NFL players have gone too far, getting themselves into deep trouble with the law. The reasons behind these arrests range from drinking and driving to drug-related charges, and even domestic violence or worse. So today, let's take a look at some of the NFL athletes who have gotten themselves into some trouble. Before we get started, make sure to leave a like on this video. If you'd like to join this month's giveaway of a brand new iPhone 12, then all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and watch this video until the end to find and comment the hidden message. Good luck! Number 10. Greg Robinson. While this is not a big name, back in 2014 he was the second overall pick in the draft and came with very high expectations. He did not fulfill these expectations after a few years in the NFL. But his story's not over. In February 2020, he was stopped at a patrol checkpoint in remote West Texas. There, the officers found 157 pounds of marijuana, 23 mason jars, an electric can seal machine, an electronic scale, and $3,100 in cash. He was in the car with another NFL player, Jaquan Bray, and an individual who is a personal Uber driver to Robinson, who was not charged in the incident as he had no idea what was in the car. He, along with Jaquan Bray, was charged with possessing marijuana with the intent to sell. Robinson attempted to put the blame on the unnamed passenger. If convicted, Robinson and Bray could look up to 20 years in federal prison. Number 9. Le'Veon Bell. In August 2014, Bell and LeGarrette Blount were driving in Ross Township, Pennsylvania, and were stopped by a police officer who then smelled marijuana in the car. After further investigation, it was found they were in possession of 20 grams of marijuana. Both of the players were arrested on marijuana possession charges, while Bell was given a citation for driving under the influence. To this, Bell replied, "I didn't know you could get a DUI for being high. I smoked 2 hours ago." Not something you want to admit to a cop. Bell was sentenced to 15 months of probation and put in a first offenders program. He also had his driver's license suspended for 60 days. Blount, who only had a marijuana possession charge, had to complete 50 hours of community service. Bell was also suspended for 3 games and had to forfeit his 4th game paycheck as part of his punishment from the NFL. Number 8. Derrius Guice. In August 2020, Guice was charged with 1 count of felony strangulation, 3 counts of assault and battery, and 1 count of destruction of property. These charges come from several incidents that happened in Guice's home earlier in the year. Allegedly, he strangled his girlfriend until she went unconscious in March. In February, he allegedly pushed her to the ground in their home bathroom, causing injury to her left thumb. In April, he pushed the same woman to the ground outside of his home and previously had taken her phone and threw it into the street, breaking the phone. Guice was quickly released from the Washington football team. No new updates have come out since the initial arrest on his status. Number 7. Patrick Chung. In August 2019, a New Hampshire grand jury indicted Patrick Chung on a Class B felony cocaine possession charge. The charge came from evidence found on a call for service to Chung's home in late June 2019. Chung was consistently cooperative with police, and since he had no previous criminal record, the charges were dismissed. As long as he does not commit any crimes or any major motor vehicle offenses over the next 2 years, the charges will be completely dismissed. His terms are subject to a regular drug test once a month for the first year and then 90 days for the second year. In addition to this, he had to complete 40 hours of community service. If any of these terms are not met over the 2 years, he can be prosecuted again and have the charges reinstated. Number 6. Julian Edelman. In January 2020, Edelman was arrested on a Saturday night for jumping onto someone's Mercedes hood and causing damage. He was cited with misdemeanor vandalism and then later released. Reports indicate he was under the influence of alcohol at the time. 9 p.m. is pretty early for some drunken rowdiness. He was hanging out with former teammate Danny Amendola and Celtics legend Paul Pierce in the streets of Beverly Hills. Ultimately, he was not prosecuted on the charges, though he did fully compensate the owner of the car for repair costs to the vehicle. Beyond this, Edelman faced no other consequences from the NFL, the legal system, or the affected individual. Number 5. Adrian Peterson. In November 2014, Peterson was charged with felony child abuse for allegedly using a switch to spank his 4-year-old son. The child was covered in bruises and cuts, including in his genital region. Eventually, Peterson pleaded no contest to a reduced charge of misdemeanor reckless assault. He was put on a 2-year probationary period. fined $4,000 and had to perform 80 hours of community service. Not only this, but he was suspended a full year by the NFL at the time. In a letter from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Peterson was scolded for his actions for not showing any remorse for what he had done. Peterson has since stated that he still disciplines his children and still uses a belt for such occasions. He has gotten better though by having them do wall squats, putting them in timeouts, or taking away their electronics. Number 4. Melvin Gordon. On October 13th, 2020, Gordon was driving in downtown Denver and was caught speeding 25 to 39 miles per hour over the speed limit. While being pulled over, he was charged with a DUI. He was able to play out the remainder of the season because the case was continued until the next month. However, he is still at risk of NFL discipline in the 2021 season. He has pleaded not guilty and awaits a jury trial in April. A lot of discipline is hanging on the air for Gordon, as he is also in a contract year with a new GM who has the power to void a large portion of his contract depending on the outcome of the case. Number 3. Odell Beckham Jr. In January 2020, Odell Beckham Jr. was issued an arrest warrant for allegedly swatting a security guard at the College Football National Championship. Video from the locker room shows Beckham slapping a security guard on the butt during post-game celebrations. He was in the heat of celebrations, and the security guards seemed to understand that as they did not want to pursue the charges on the matter. The warrant was ultimately recalled, and Beckham only suffered the minor consequence of inaccurate bad press. Number 2. Aldon Smith. This is one of those players who have been arrested on multiple occasions in the NFL. Back in 2012, he was arrested on suspicion of DUI in Miami, where it was ultimately reduced to reckless driving. Then, on September 20th, 2013, he was involved in a single-car accident and was then arrested on suspicion of DUI and marijuana possession. A few weeks later, he was charged with felony possession of an assault weapon from an incident that happened at a house party in 2012. He was accused of owning illegal firearms at the time and shooting them into the air. Smith was arrested in 2014 for making false bomb threats claims at LAX. Smith was then arrested again for an alcohol-related driving case, arrested on charges of suspicion of DUI, hit and run, and vandalism. In March 2018, he was connected with a domestic violence complaint where he was later charged for such actions. Number 1. Dante Fowler. In August 2017, Fowler was arrested on charges of battery, criminal mischief, and petty theft. Fowler was allegedly caught punching a man who complained about his driving, while also throwing his groceries into a nearby lake and stomping on the victim's glasses after he had hit him to make them fall off his face. At the same time this incident occurred, news came out that he was previously charged with misdemeanor counts of assault against a police officer, EMT, and resisting arrest. These charges were later dropped after successful completion of a pre-trial diversion program, but at the time caused a lot of heat for the defensive end. Since these troubling times, Fowler has been out of trouble and a good role model. Not everyone can be perfect citizens, and these NFL players show that. Most have had the opportunity to show that they can move on, while others have faded into oblivion. Hopefully you haven't had run-ins with the police as these players have. If you have, we'd love to hear your story in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe for future content, and click the bell so you don't miss when we drop new videos. Until next time.